All right, everyone ready to dive deep? Today, we're tackling business cycles. I know a lot of you are interested in how the economy works, especially when it comes to your own money and your future. Kind of like hopping on a roller coaster, you know?
Yeah.
Exciting, a little scary, but definitely want to know what you're getting into. So we're going to unpack the history of these cycles, look at some famous examples, and even see how technology, those central banks, and even just plain human psychology all play a role. And to help us make sense of it all, we've got our expert here.
Hey, glad to be here. You're spot on focusing on how these economic swings actually hit us personally. Headlines are one thing, but knowing how they affect your wallet, your job, your future, that's the real deal.
Exactly. So first things first, where did this whole business cycle idea even come from?
Well, the term goes back to the early 1800s. A French economist, JCL Simon Sismondi, he compared economies to tides, always ebbing and flowing.
Like always going up and down.
Yeah, and even before that, Richard Jones was looking at how changes in production and demand cause these ups and downs.
So it's not some brand new concept. Been around for a while.
Right. And as different economic theories popped up, our understanding evolved. You've got the Keynesians saying the government needs to step in to smooth things out.
Kind of like a shock absorber.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the monetarists. They're all about focus on that money supply.
Yeah.
But no matter the theory, everyone agrees these business cycles are a real thing affecting all of us.
Different theories, but the cycles themselves are undeniable. Speaking of, can we break down those phases everyone talks about?
Definitely. There are four main ones: expansion, peak, contraction, and trough.
Expansion. That sounds good.
It is. Think of it like climbing a hill. Economy's doing well, jobs are growing, people are spending. Then you hit the peak, the highest point, things are booming.
Well, what goes up?
Gotta come down. That's the contraction phase. Things slow down, some jobs might be lost, people tighten their belts.
And finally, the bottom, the trough.
Right. Things are kind of stagnant there. Each phase has its own quirks and what they mean for you.
So like during expansion, maybe it's a good time to invest, take some calculated risks.
Exactly. But during contraction, might want to be more cautious, save a bit more.
Makes sense. So it's not just knowing the phases exist, it's understanding how they affect your choices. But what causes these cycles in the first place?
Well, it's a whole mix of things. Some internal, like interest rates, how confident consumers are feeling, and what businesses are investing. Then there are external factors. Global events, natural disasters, even politics being shaky can play a role.
So it's like a giant puzzle, all these pieces fitting together.
That's it. And one of the most interesting pieces is technology.
Technology, how so?
Well, think back to the Industrial Revolution. Incredible advancements, but jobs were lost as machines took over.
Replacing human labor.
Right. And today, we've got similar worries with automation and AI.
Yeah, robots taking our jobs. It's like a sci-fi movie coming true.
It's a valid concern. Technology opens doors, but also forces us to adapt. Companies that don't keep up well.
They get left behind.
Exactly. Remember Kodak. Huge in the film industry, but they missed the digital boat.
It went bankrupt. Tough lesson.
It is. But then you've got companies like Instagram, just a simple photo app, and boom, billion-dollar acquisition.
Crazy how fast things change.
Right. That's the tech-driven economy for you. So as we keep talking business cycles, keep technology in mind. It can build up and tear down.
Got it. Technology's a major player. But who's actually steering this whole economic ship?
Central banks, they're the ones. Kind of like conductors of an orchestra using monetary policy to influence how fast or slow things go.
I've always pictured them as the heart pumping money through the economy.
Good analogy. Their main tool, interest rates.
So that's like the price of money, right?
Exactly. Low rates make borrowing cheaper, so people spend and invest more, stimulates growth, but too much can lead to inflation.
So it's a tightrope walk. Too much growth, inflation. Too little, and we risk a recession.
You got it. Central banks are always watching, trying to find that sweet spot. They've got other tools, too, like quantitative easing, used during the 2008 crisis to inject money directly.
Right, buying up bonds and stuff to increase the money supply. Risky business, though, isn't it?
It can be. Leads to inflation, asset bubbles, not a decision they take lightly. The important thing for you is central bank actions directly affect your finances.
So mortgages, car loans, my investments, it all ties back.
Absolutely. It's not just some abstract concept, it's real-world stuff.
Wow, I'm starting to see how all this connects. But central banks aren't the only ones with a hand on the wheel, are they? Governments play a role too,
Oh, for sure. Fiscal policy, that's government spending and taxes. It's another powerful tool.
like the New Deal programs during the Great Depression,
Exactly. Massive spending to create jobs, get the economy going again, or more recently, the stimulus packages after 2008.
like stepping on the gas pedal.
Exactly. But fiscal policy can be tricky too. Tax cuts stimulate growth, but can also mean bigger deficits,
And then there's austerity measures to control debt, but that can backfire.
right? It can lead to economic contraction, social unrest. Finding the right balance is key.
Seems like everyone's trying to steer this economic ship, but smooth sailing isn't guaranteed. What about human psychology, though? How does that fit in?
That's often overlooked, but it's fascinating. Our emotions, our biases, they shape these business cycles. Remember the dot-com bubble?
Oh, yeah, everyone was going crazy for internet companies. Sky-high valuations. It seemed like easy money.
It was. Lots of innovation, but also a ton of speculation, unrealistic expectations, many companies, all hype, no substance.
And then the bubble burst? People lost a lot. A hard lesson to learn.
It is. Even during booming times. Gotta be careful, not get swept up in the hype.
Enjoy the ride, but buckle up.
Exactly. And remember, business cycles are cyclical. What goes up will come down, and vice versa.
So we've got these cycles happening, influenced by all these things we've talked about. But it's not totally random, right? Natural disasters, political stuff, those play a part too.
Absolutely. External shocks, we call them, disrupt the normal flow. A big earthquake, for instance, damages infrastructure, messes with supply chains, economic activity takes a hit.
Mother Nature throwing a curveball.
That's it. And political instability, wars, revolutions, create uncertainty, disrupt markets, both at home and globally.
So those are the wild cards, messing up even the best economic predictions. Seems like there are a ton of moving parts here. But how does all this connect to our own money? What can we do to navigate these cycles and make smart choices?
That's the million-dollar question. No magic formula, but definitely some key principles to help you ride those economic waves and come out ahead.
All right, spill the beans. What are the secrets to financial stability when these business cycles are so unpredictable?
Well, first off, gotta understand your own risk tolerance. Comfortable with high risk, high reward? Or do you prefer playing it safe?
Like, some folks love roller coasters, others prefer a nice stroll in the park.
Exactly. Your risk tolerance determines how you spread your money around. A diversified portfolio, mix of stocks, bonds, other assets, helps reduce risk.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right. Cushion the blow if one area goes south. It's also crucial to think long-term.
Not just focusing on what's happening right now.
Yeah. These cycles are cyclical, ups and downs are natural. Over time, the economy tends to grow.
So ride it out. Don't panic sell when the market dips.
Exactly. Short-term dips happen, but if you're in it for the long haul, they're less scary.
Makes sense. But it's not just sitting back and hoping for the best, right?
Yeah.
We got to be proactive too.
Absolutely. And that's where staying informed comes in. Read the financial news, listen to podcasts like this one, talk to advisors. The more you know about economic trends and cycles, the better your decisions.
Knowledge is power. The more we understand, the less intimidating those economic roller coasters become.
You got it. We can't predict the future perfectly, but knowing the past and present helps navigate the uncertainty.
This deep dive has been amazing. So much learned about what shapes our economy and our lives. But it's not just the big picture. It's about applying this to our own finances, making smart choices.
Exactly. And that leads us to the next big topic, how these business cycles affect economic inequality. Because it's not just the whole economy going up or down, it's how those changes hit different groups of people differently.
Okay, let's unpack that. How do business cycles impact inequality?
Okay, so let's step back in time for a bit and look at some historical examples of these business cycles in action.
Time travel, my favorite.
Well, maybe not actual time travel, but looking at history can teach us a lot. One of the most famous examples, of course, is the Great Depression.
Yeah, that one. Started with that huge stock market crash in '29.
Yeah.
Real wake-up call, right?
It definitely sent shockwaves through the global economy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But the crash itself wasn't the only culprit behind the Great Depression, you know? There were other things going on.
Oh, like what?
Well, for one, there was overproduction in both agriculture and industry. They were making too much stuff, more than people could buy.
So like a supply and demand issue, but on a massive scale.
Exactly. And then you had all these high tariffs countries were slapping on imports that choked global trade, made it even harder to sell all those excess goods.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was a perfect storm of bad timing and bad decisions. And to make things worse, the Federal Reserve, that's the U.S. central bank, didn't exactly help.
What do you mean?
Well, instead of increasing the money supply to fight those falling prices, they actually tightened it, made the whole thing worse.
Wait, wouldn't you want to put more money into the system during a downturn? Seems counterintuitive.
You'd think so, right? But back then, economic theory wasn't as advanced, and they made some choices that, looking back, really didn't help.
So the Great Depression shows us that even the experts can get it wrong, and those mistakes have big consequences.
Definitely highlights the importance of good economic policies and really understanding these cycles. The Great Depression did lead to some positive changes, though.
Like what?
Well, it pushed for more government involvement in the economy, establishing those social safety nets, and a much deeper understanding of managing these cycles.
So even though it was a rough time, it eventually led to some good things.
Absolutely. Forced everyone to learn from those mistakes and build a more resilient system. Speaking of learning from the past, another major example is the 2008 financial crisis.
Oh yeah, that one hit hard. Wasn't that the housing bubble bursting?
Right. It started with that, the collapse of the U.S. housing market, fueled by subprime mortgages and those complex financial derivatives.
Those mortgage-backed securities, the ones bundled up and sold all over the world. I remember hearing about this.
It was like a house of cards, really.
Yeah.
One shaky card pulls the whole thing down.
Perfect analogy. And just like with the Great Depression, 2008 showed how interconnected the global economy had become. Started in the U.S. and quickly spread everywhere.
Globalization, right. It creates opportunities, but those risks get amplified too. We're all in this together, whether we like it or not.
Holding hands on this roller coaster, for better or worse.
Exactly. 2008 also showed how crucial financial regulation is. Part of the problem was lax lending standards, not enough oversight.
Like, we need rules of the road so everyone plays fair and avoids reckless behavior that could crash the whole system.
Precisely. After 2008, there were a lot of efforts to strengthen those regulations and improve risk management. But as we've seen, business cycles are always changing. New challenges, unforeseen risks will always pop up.
So we're going to adapt, learn, and keep surfing those economic waves. Hey, enough doom and gloom, though. What about the good times, the economic booms? Those are fun, right?
They can be. Booms are full of growth, opportunity, excitement. But even then, they come with their own set of challenges and things to watch out for.
Like, what could go wrong during a boom? Isn't that when everyone's making money?
Think back to the dot-com bubble. Everyone was pouring money into internet companies, valuations were going through the roof. Seemed like a guaranteed win.
Yeah, the internet was the new gold rush.
Right. It was a time of incredible innovation, but it also led to a ton of speculation and unrealistic valuations. A lot of those companies were built on hype, not solid business.
And when the bubble burst, a lot of people got burned.
That's the thing. The dot-com bubble reminds us that even during super fast growth, we need to stay grounded and not get caught up in the frenzy.
Enjoy the ride, but don't forget your seatbelt.
Exactly. Always remember that cyclical part of business cycles. What goes up must come down, and the other way around.
Okay, so these cycles are happening, influenced by all those factors we've been talking about.
Right.
But it's not just those internal things driving it, right? Natural disasters, political stuff, that plays a role too.
Absolutely. Those are what we call external shocks. They disrupt the normal flow of things. A major earthquake, for instance. It can damage infrastructure, disrupt those supply chains we talked about, and boom, economic activity takes a hit.
Like Mother Nature's throwing a wrench into the gears.
Exactly. And then there's political instability. Things like wars or revolutions create a lot of uncertainty, disrupt markets, both domestically and globally.
Those are like the wild cards, throwing off even the most careful economic forecasts. It seems like there are a lot of moving parts in this whole business cycle thing. But how does all this connect back to our personal finances? What can we do to navigate these cycles and make smart decisions?
That's the key question, isn't it? While there's no magic formula, there are definitely some key principles that can help you ride out those economic ups and downs and come out ahead.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are the secrets to financial stability in a world of unpredictable business cycles?
Well, first and foremost, you need to understand your own risk tolerance. Are you comfortable with high-risk, high-reward investments, or do you prefer a more conservative approach?
It's like some people love the thrill of roller coasters, while others prefer a leisurely walk in the park.
Exactly. And your risk tolerance will help determine how you allocate your assets. Building a diversified portfolio with a mix of stocks, bonds, and other asset classes can help mitigate risk.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread them around and cushion the blow if one area takes a hit.
Exactly. It's also crucial to have a long-term perspective. Remember, business cycles are, by nature, cyclical. There will be ups and downs, but over the long term, the economy tends to grow.
So don't panic and sell everything when the market takes a dip. Stay the course and ride it out.
Exactly. Short-term fluctuations are inevitable, but if you're invested for the long haul, those dips become less scary.
That's reassuring. But it's not all about just sitting back and hoping for the best, right? We need to be proactive, too.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another crucial point. Staying informed. Read financial news, listen to podcasts like this one, talk to financial advisors. The more you understand about economic trends and business cycles, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions.
Knowledge is power. The more we understand these forces, the less scary those economic roller coasters become.
Precisely. And while it's impossible to predict the future with certainty, understanding the past and present can help us navigate the uncertain waters ahead.
This deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've learned so much about the forces that shape our economy and our lives. But it's not just about understanding the big picture. It's about applying this knowledge to our own personal finances and making smart choices.
You've got it. And that brings us to the next important topic, the relationship between business cycles and economic inequality. Because it's not just about the overall economy going up or down, it's about how those changes affect different groups of people in very different ways.
Okay, let's unpack that. How do business cycles impact inequality? So we've got this economic roller coaster going, but it's not exactly a level playing field for everyone, right? How does this all connect to inequality?
Yeah, that's a big one. You see, when times are good, everyone benefits to some extent, but the folks at the top, they tend to see the biggest gains,
So the rich get richer.
basically. Income inequality can actually widen during those boom times. It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, but some boats get lifted way higher than others.
Makes sense. But what happens when things go south during a recession?
Well, that's when those at the bottom really get hit hard. They're more likely to lose jobs, see their wages cut, struggle to make ends meet. It's a double whammy.
Ouch, yeah. Like riding that roller coaster without a safety harness. Not good for anyone, really.
Exactly. More inequality can lead to social unrest, political instability, and ultimately, everyone's worse off. For an economy to be healthy, it's got to work for everyone, not just the folks at the top.
Makes sense. So we've got this connection between economic cycles and inequality. But can anything be done about it? Or are we stuck in this loop of boom and bust with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer?
It's a tough question, no easy answers, but there are things we can try to lessen the impact. We need policies that focus on growth that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
What would that look like, practically speaking?
Well, for starters, investing in things like education, healthcare, job training, but making sure those benefits reach everyone, not just those already well off. Leveling the playing field a bit, giving everyone a real shot at success no matter where they started.
Giving folks the tools to succeed helps everyone in the long run. What else?
We also need policies that support workers and families better. A solid safety net, affordable childcare, policies that encourage a healthy work-life balance. If people are constantly struggling just to get by, it's hard to invest in their future or contribute to the economy.
It's about creating an environment where everyone can participate and contribute, not just survive. But what about big corporations? They hold a lot of power.
You're right. Addressing corporate power is a key piece of the puzzle. When corporations have too much sway over government policy, it often leads to policies that favor the wealthy at the expense of everyone else.
So it's about making sure the rules are fair and that everyone has a voice, not just the folks with the deepest pockets.
Exactly. Tackling inequality is a complex issue, but it's something we can't ignore if we want a fair and sustainable economy. It's not just about the numbers, it's about social justice and fairness.
Wow, this whole deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much ground from the very beginnings of business cycles to their impact on inequality and everything in between. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, though.
You're right, there's always more to learn when it comes to economics. It's constantly changing, but hopefully this deep dive has given you a good starting point for understanding these cycles and how they affect your life and the world around you.
It definitely has. I feel more informed, more empowered, and even a bit inspired to learn more and see what I could do to make things better. It's not just about riding the waves, it's about trying to steer the ship in the right direction.
That's the perfect way to put it. We all have a role to play in building a fair and more sustainable economy, whether it's through the choices we make as consumers, how we vote, or speaking up for policies that promote economic well-being for everyone.
Well said. So to everyone listening out there, thanks for joining us on this roller coaster ride through the world of business cycles. Remember, knowledge is power. Understanding these cycles can help you make smarter choices with your finances and navigate those economic ups and downs with a bit more confidence.
And to leave you with something to ponder, economist Paul Samuelson once said, "Economics is a science. Dismal or not, it's a science." So keep that in mind. Embrace the complexities, stay curious, and keep learning. The world of economics is full of surprises and insights just waiting to be discovered.
Happy deep diving, everyone. We'll catch you next time.